All right. How's everybody doing? You look beautiful. Hey, I meant that. You look beautiful.
Thank you.
All right, so I got this idea about a year or so ago when I picked up this book at conference. It's titled The Untethered Soul by Michael Singer. And I got all excited because it helped me realign myself and recenter myself in an awakening and awareness of what I truly am. And so, if you have this book, that's fine. Right now, our message today is coming from just a summary from my mind of what that first section was about. So for a few weeks, I'll be sharing some spiritual insights from the book. It's my take on things. If you want to really get down into it, there's an abundance of information in the book, but naturally I can't keep you here 5-6 hours, so I'm just going to kind of give you a summary of my thoughts because I think it's so important. You keep hearing me talk about building community. I want a community here at Unity Church of Light. I want people who desire to come together and lift the consciousness of others. And not only that, let their consciousness be lifted. I believe in the power of thought, and I think that we are the ones that think the thoughts, right? And we want to draw to us by what we create with our thinking. But we have to be careful about this. We can create a lot of things, can't we? We can create a lot of things of our human selves when we project our human selves into the scenario. I don't know about you, but I want to live from the Christ center of me. I want to make decisions in my life from the Christ center. I want to make that connection. No matter what's going on in the world, I want to be centered and focused. To do that, I have work to do. So, since I have work to do, I'm just going to make the assumption that you may want to join me also in this work. So, in the book, Michael Singer begins with a quote from Shakespeare. And the quote is, "This above all, thine own self be true. And it must follow as the night follows the day. Thou canst nor be false to any man." Now, to clarify that a little bit, I'm adding this to that statement. I am adding the words of Jesus Christ. "Ye shall know the truth, and the truth shall make you free." And that's what spiritual liberation is all about, isn't it? It's not about stopping the current events in the world. It's about looking at them from that eye of view and seeing it different. So, Knowing that will untie the rope that keeps us tethered to these challenges of the world, that keeps us worrying and stewing about them. It frees us to seek the true self, which is the Christ. So prior to studying unity, the only thing I knew about was this body, this person. And this was what I thought my world was based on the personality, the person, Vernetta, the one and only. I was unaware of my divinity. Anybody else go through that? Where you're unaware of what is in you that's so powerful and strong. Well, I had my time marching through that, dropping off all that outer stuff one by one by one. Now I want to do the ultimate. Michael, in his book, recommends an exercise, and I don't like to bring you anything that I don't try myself. So I went through this for a couple of months. And recently, I stepped back into it to take another look at how I'm responding to things in this human experience. And more importantly, to take a look at what thoughts are running amok in my mind about this human experience, about this world experiences. In the book, there's an exercise. Now, don't think I'm wild up here. This has a purpose. But in the book, there's an exercise, and he calls it observing the voices. Now, being a Unity student, I just took voices out and put thoughts. Observing the thoughts. And you know, I teach that we need to be an observer in our lives, to see what's happening, to be consciously aware of what your thoughts are when you're not thinking. That's the way I put it. When you catch yourself just in the midst of thoughts, what are they and what are they saying to you, and what are you saying yes about those thoughts? You know, sometimes we believe that we're not worthy because that thought is running wild in our minds. We even take that thought and generate more thoughts like it that may argue against that. Or may say that's the truth of you. You're not worthy. We have these thoughts that go around in our mind. Anybody ever wake up in the middle of the night and so many things are circling your mind till you can't get back to sleep? Oh my. Take a step back when that happens. Center yourself and look at that from the I am of you. Is it the truth? All these things that are keeping you awake? Or are they things that have been created by, I'm just throwing this out here, by the figment of your imagination? Some things are like that. Some things are like that. So, in the book, to do this, we all know about taking that deep breath and stepping back. Take those thoughts apart, one at a time, whatever they may be. I don't have enough money. My health, I don't have a healthy body. I can't see how I'm gonna leave this airplane before I'm in a couple of years. Whatever the thoughts are, and you know what they are for you, whatever they are, step back and look at them from your spiritual eye. Is that the truth about me? Is that the truth about me? The whole point of this inner dialogue is to weed out erroneous information. You know, there's so much chatter. You ever notice the chatter? I was driving here this morning. There was so much chatter going on. Some people call it monkey mind in Unity. All that stuff running around. You know, sometimes that stuff comes from lack of sleep. You're tired, so in your mind you run these stories over and over and over. That you don't have enough energy, you don't have enough strength. You know, the chatter can be so loud, so convincing, that you find yourself absorbed in it. Have you ever been watching a television show? And that show was so captivating that you didn't know anything else was going on in the room until it was over. You were carried along with the emotions that were intermingled in that show. And guess what? Those emotions, the things you were feeling, that's what the author of that movie wanted you to feel and think and see. And that's the same thing in life. We take in so much stuff that people tell us. It's what they want us to think and feel. It's what they want us to accept as true in our lives. But stop and think, is it really? Is it really? Do I not have control? Some would say you don't have control. But I can choose where I focus my thought. You may not know that if you haven't gone through exercises and prayer work and in meditation where you focused on that indwelling spirit, where you focused on that Christ within, where you sat in the quiet with that aspect of yourself. You know, it's time to begin to explore yourself. One of the first things you might notice that those thoughts or those voices, they're like characters in an animated movie. And guess what? They're creating as they go along. And guess what? You don't have to accept that movie. You don't have to accept what those thoughts are trying to get you to believe. I think some of the times we don't know that we have that power. But the whole point of this message this morning and this series is to get us to be consciously aware of the inner dialogue. Take a deep breath and realize that this dialogue is not you. There's nothing to fear. We're not going to run out of any of God's rich resources. You are the consciousness. You are the thinker. the being, the soul, that's listening and hearing and experiencing these thoughts. But they are not you, because you're greater than that. You are a spiritual being. And that divinity is in each and every one of us, but we can't see it always because of the chatter in our minds, the noise that's being created. And you know, one thing too, without awareness of what you truly are, we begin to identify ourselves as those thoughts. We tell others that we are not healthy, that we are not prosperous, that we don't have available to us the ability to get centered, to get quiet. But that's not the truth about you. If you want to free yourselves, I want you to listen to this key. It's the key in our spiritual journey. It's the key to our spiritual awakening. It's that we are not the thoughts. We control the thoughts. I want to just give you a little bit of Michael himself. I want to read this to you because this will clarify a little bit what I'm trying to say to you today. If you want to free yourself, you must be free. You must first become conscious. Now, we know consciousness is what? Everything that we're aware of, right? You must become conscious enough to understand what's going on within you. I'm kind of paraphrasing some of this. Then you must commit yourself to the inner work of freedom. You do this as your life is dependent on it. Right now, your life is not your own if you're believing all those thoughts that are racing through your mind. You have to take back your power, stand firm, and look at things as a witness is looking at all the evidence out here. And then reclaim yourself. You know you're worthy. You know that you're a child of God. You know that there's one presence, one power. And you can look at these things that are coming at you from that presence. So, I want to tell you a little story before I close here, to try to help bring this home a little bit. And this story is from, anybody hear the book, The Awakening, by Mark Nepo? Well, in this book, he tells a story of a friend that was recalling a time when he was determined to paint the family room. So his friend went out and he bought buckets of red paint, a couple gallons of red paint, the mixing sticks, drop cloths, and brushes. And he mixed the paint outside, and then he picked up a gallon in each hand, put the drop cloth under his arm, stuck the brushes in between his mouth, and walked to the door and tried to open the door. He didn't want to put anything down. I can relate to the story. I live on the second floor, and if you saw the stuff I juggled to get in the house to make one trip. So he didn't want to put anything down, and he tried to open the door. And when the door opened, he lost his grip, stumbled backwards, and wound up on the ground with gallons of red paint all over him. At this point, he laughed at himself, as he had done many times. And amazingly, the moral of the story is, we all do this. We all try to carry too much. We all try to hold on to all these thoughts that are going on. We try to absorb all the stories we're hearing on television. And we do this with our thinking. We're collecting, we're listening. We're refusing to let go of any of it until it takes up the space for contemplating that which is true. When we get to that point where we feel we can no longer go on, when we get to that point where we're overcome with fear, that's the same as his falling down because he was too stubborn to put some stuff down. Sometimes we're like that, aren't we? We are too absorbed in the ways of the world to let go and not hold on to all this stuff. You know, I think of myself sometimes, I think I gotta do this, I gotta do it, I gotta do all of it. But it's not my work to be done. I have to let you go to do what Spirit is telling you, what's right for you. That's your awakening. When you take the time to know the Christ for yourself, and you realize that all this other stuff will pass. It's not lasting. You can let it go. You can move through your experiences in confidence, knowing you are a divine spiritual being. You are worthy. You are worth it. And there's nothing that you cannot move through in this world of human experiences. We just have to set aside some of that stuff that is not necessary. I don't know where this quote came from, but I love it. It says, "There comes a time in life when you finally get it. In the midst of all the fear and insanity, you stop dead in your tracks, and somewhere inside you, a voice cries out, 'Enough!' Enough fighting and crying and struggling to hold on to what is not necessary in life. And like a child quieting down after a blind temper tantrum, you blink back the tears and you begin to look at the world with new eyes. That is what I call the awakening to the truth that is within you. Awakening to spiritual liberation. When you get to know your spiritual nature, it can carry you through all things. I like that scripture too. I can do all things through Christ that strengthens me. I can let go of what is not necessary to hold on through. Because what do we say about thoughts? We say they produce after their kind. Do we want to hold on to those thoughts that are not life-building experiences? No. We want to let them go. We're going to get into this a little more. Next week I'm going to be talking about the energy of the heart. Our heart is our center. There's energy. God is energy. Moving in and throughout all creation. So we're going to talk about this energy a little bit. Right now, I want you to prepare yourself for meditation. First, let's recite the Lord's Prayer together. Together, Our Father, which art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our debts as we forgive our debtors. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, and the power, and the glory, forever. So take a deep breath and relax into this moment. And our affirmation that I want you to repeat to yourself this week, because we want to hear that spirit within us. We want that spirit within us that is the Christ to observe the thoughts. We are on the threshold of crossing over into a different way of living, a breakthrough to greater peace when we live from the inside Christ-centered out. So the affirmation I want you to say to remind you of going through the exercise of observing is, I am quiet enough to hear God speak to me. And also, I am quiet enough to hear God speak through me. That's how we handle thoughts. We get quiet so we can hear our indwelling spirit, our connection, that part of us that is unconditional love, that part of us that is all the wisdom we need to move through any experience. I am quiet enough to hear God speak to me. And take a deep breath. I am quiet enough to hear God speak through me. all the baggage that we've been holding on to. We are in awareness that we have been carrying too much to open the door and step over the threshold into our highest good, breathing in slowly, and with each breath, we put the things we have been carrying down, one by one. Any indecisions, we drop those by the wayside, knowing that the wisdom contained within me is what I am. Any thoughts of being unworthy, we let that drop by the wayside. Unloved, that goes too. And the load becomes lighter the more we journey deep within. And we focus on that in us, which is a spark of life. And as we step over the threshold with an awareness that we are now free, we step over the threshold of our inner chamber and breathe in unconditionally the gifts of spirit. I am quiet enough to hear the whisperings of spirit telling me I am love. I am quiet enough to hear spirit letting me know all that I need to live a rich and fulfilling life. It's right here. I clear the clutter of thoughts. And I see down to the bare necessity, which is the truth of my being. And I accept all the gifts that have been prepared for me before I came into an awareness of them. All the attributes of God are attributes in me. I live, move, and have my being in the essence of all that is. And so I take a moment right here, right now. I still myself enough to hear God speak to and through me. Holy Spirit, we're so grateful this morning for your activity, moving in and through us. We're so grateful that we know who and what we are. We know that we are an expression of the Most High God. And that resides within us. We need seek no further than to turn within and to rest and to trust and to be quiet enough to hear God speak to our hearts. We are so grateful. Thank you, God. And it is so, and so it is for right here, right now. I am listening. And we know that the voice we hear is that spirit deep within us. And we are grateful. And as we prepare to return to the presence of this room and to go forth this day, take time to observe what those thoughts are, to pick them apart as the untruth that they are. You are a spiritual being, first and foremost. And all this out here is our human experience. How are you passing through this human experience? I see you as being strong in the Lord and in the power of His might. And that is you. In you. That's true. I'm going to ask the question. You believe it? Yes. I'm answering too for you. Yes. As we go forward as a community. Bless you.